Hey Internet, it's Chris. Welcome back to the place on the internet where I get to talk about comics, movies, games, whatever I'm really passionate about. And today I wanted to talk about Absolute DC. In my last video, I talked about DC's new initiative where they're making compact comics that are $9.99, full classic stories that are in manga format. That I felt was a really exciting development in terms of bringing in new readers, sort of it'll pump in some excitement and possibly save DC Comics. And now I wanted to talk about something else, DC, which is said to be the ultimate line of DC Comics. I think they're in a place where they're really trying to shake things up and get back to a place where they're firmly in number two in terms of the big two. In my last video, I talked about how they're slipping a bit in terms of market share. Part of that is some of what Marvel's been doing with their Ultimate Universe and some of their books, but also it has to do with the fact that DC slipped a bit and Image has increased their excitement around the Energon universe, Transformers, G.I. Joe. Those books are popping off. McFarlane with his Spawn universe. So there's so much going on in comics. It's hard to cut through the noise. And with DC, they've sort of become this place. Well, it is called DC, which is Detective Comics, the house that Batman built. But it is become a meme that every single book is a Bat book. So it's no surprise, too, even with Absolute DC, the first book that they're coming out with is a Batman book. Got Snider and Nick Dragotta at the helm. It is said that Scott Snyder is helming this new Absolute DC line, which is great because Scott, was a part of the New 52, wrote one of the most iconic Batman stories of all time with the Court of Owls, Greg Capullo. So back on Batman is something I think fans could get really excited about. But just based on some of the art that's been released, Bleeding Cool has been on top of that story. It seems like Rich Johnson is the Adrian Wojnarowski of DC Comics, tweeting out things before people at DC even know about it. So with them at the helm and some other people sort of rumored and or leaked to be involved, like Jeff Lemire, Wes Craig, we've heard Rom V. There's Al Ewing, so that's a big get to get Al Ewing from Marvel to do a DC book. It's exciting, to have something that you can sort of bring in new readers, and you're in a place where you can explore new ideas where the main books have felt stagnant. There's a rumored Absolute Martian Manhunter, which would be really exciting to take a character that hasn't had a solo title in such a long time and has taken a back seat in the universe at large, to be able to spotlight those characters. And this entire thing is a part of DC All In, which is their publishing initiative. And to be honest, DC does this a lot where they'll have Dawn of DC, Infinite Frontier, all these different things that, at a certain point lose meaning. It's kind of like when they call in a big event a crisis. Every DC event is a crisis. You have Dark Crisis, which became Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths. Final Crisis, which wasn't the Final Crisis. I don't know. I'm sure there's going to be another crisis that, I'm actually really surprised that they didn't call Absolute Power Crisis or Absolute Crisis. But that would be too on the nose in terms of hinting towards a new shakeup in the multiverse. But hey, it's not like they've really been original around those things. I have Scott Snyder at the helm. What's great about Scott, too, in terms of seeing what he's been doing over the past few years, it seems like ever since he's taken a backseat at DC, he's been exploring things in terms of the indie scene with Comixology, Substack. He's really also been putting a spotlight on other creators and bringing people along. This is not recent, but, he's brought along like James Tynan, and with his Substack, he has classes in terms of comic book writing and teaching others. So he's really about bringing people into storytelling and comics. So to have him in that Jonathan Hickman role of, sort of seeing over this line and bringing people in and hopefully putting a thread through the universe. I think what's really worked about the new Ultimate Comics line is you have a thread that, puts these books together: Ultimate X-Men, Ultimate Black Panther, Ultimate Avengers, Ultimate Spider-Man. All of those books are great on their own, but you have sort of this larger universe where the one of the large and big things is, hey, we've all, especially heroes, are in that world feel like they've lost something. Something feels off, that time has been taken away from them, that an opportunity's been stripped away. And I feel like right now, in terms of where readers are, that's something people can really relate to. And DC really needs to do that with these books. Are people going to buy a Batman #1 from Scott Snyder and Nick Dragotta? That's easy. But if the book is just him being, a monstrosity and just a badass with a tank and stuff like that, this will sort of go by, and we'll probably see another crisis that will erase what has happened in this new absolute/ultimate line. Are people excited about this? Is another thing. Marvel just did this. They were able to get a lot of sales in terms of, I believe, every single Ultimate title has gone to multiple printings. All of them have been well received, even though they've been going to new, different takes on the characters. A lot of it's familiar, but Peach Momoka has been doing good work on X-Men. Black Panther from Brian Edward Hill is amazing. Jonathan Hickman on Ultimate Spider-Man. There's not enough that can be said about that. Dennis Camp, who is rumored to be coming over to Absolute DC. The first 2 issues of the Ultimates are amazing, and you really need to read that if you haven't. DC really needs to sort of make sure that it's something in that line, and also not something where you're just like, hey, here's 10 miniseries that don't invest in, just wait for the trade and stuff like that. And if it's that, I feel like I just might as well wait till it's on DC Ultra, and I'll read those books. But if it's anything like the Ultimate Universe, I'll be at my shop adding all of those to my pull list. And hopefully what's to come in San Diego Comic-Con is an announcement, some art. Hopefully Rich Johnson doesn't spoil everything that's to come with this new universe, and people that arrive at SDCC are able to get their ash cans, be a part of those panels and all that. But yeah, this is just me rambling about DC sort of working through where they're at, because right now I'm wearing a DC hoodie. If you're on this channel, you notice that it's called Nightwing Stand, so I'm a DC fan. But that does not mean that I don't see where the company's going, and I'm a little disheartened about sort of their place in the larger conversation of comics. So hopefully this is the new 52 bump that they need, and they're able to bring in new readers, and it gets them to a more stable place. Now, according to YouTube, DC's been on the brink of collapse for a decade. Now, I don't think they're in a great place, but being a part of a larger corporation, it really is sort of a rounding error as a business. It doesn't generate much revenue. It also doesn't take too much. So it's very hard for them to see that they'll be on the chopping block. But it would be great if they're able to inject new excitement, and hopefully along with the DCU at large, where the films are able to take a turn, we'll get more people in the comic shop and hopefully more DC fans. So what do you think? Are you excited for Absolute DC? Let me know in the comments below, and later.